Good evening, 49er faithful. Welcome to another episode of the Member Call-In Show, wherein members of the channel call in on video. Hey, if you don't want to have the video on, you can feel free to have that off, just the audio. Or if you can find a fantastic clip of Eddie D to be your speaking voice, that's just fine as well. Your picture as your voice is on screen. So this is members of the channel. If you are a member of the channel, you can simply go to my YouTube page. On the community tab is a link backstage to StreamYard. I will go ahead and put in that link as well into the chat so that you can go directly to my YouTube page and find that StreamYard link. Again, it is something that you will need to be a channel member in order to do, but I've got that link, copy and paste it right now so that anybody who is there in the chat that is a member of the Sneakerhead community can get back there and log in. Want to say what's up to everybody that is in the chat already. Stivers 209 Football, Treasure Kisses, Eric Schultz, Charles Thurman, Chris Royal, Jaguayo 56, Fable, JVC, Raphael 562 Niners, Cameron, Blake, Jamie, Bryant, Luke Walsh, and this Rob Schuh guy dropping links about the community tab. I don't know who that is. All right, first and foremost, we are getting into the topics you want to talk about. Is it training camp? Is it the new DK Metcalf deal? Whatever it may be, we're bringing Swanee D to the program, otherwise known as Swan Song. How you doing, Swanee D?
Pretty good, Rob. It's Thursday, almost Friday.
Yes.
Got all my work done. It's good.
And we're back into training camp, Swan. That is glorious. Absolutely glorious. I'm thrilled to be talking about things that are actually occurring and not speculative. Although, this is still, for those listening, this is pads are off, right? There's no contact here. That's going to be the same throughout this week. Yesterday's session was about 90 minutes. I think today's was somewhere in that neighborhood as well. So it's not a terribly long session, and there's no hitting. No pads are on, but you still get a lot of information like we did today.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I was on the Little Birdie, and you can see all the Trey haters going, "I told you so," after one practice. It's crazy. I mean,
messed
come on.
Up. I see the common line is like, all right, let the excuses fly now. And I say to myself, I don't need to let the excuses fly, because I went into this with proper expectations, believing that we needed to be patient, believing that Trey Lance would obviously have his ups and downs as a second-year quarterback, still the seventh youngest quarterback to start in NFL history going into this year.
Yeah, and like a pass rush will make anybody look mortal.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. I mean, if I went around looking at other camp practices, and there's a common theme. The defense is generating pass rush. You go to any of these teams, you hear this exact same thing, and the coaches will coaches will say, "Hey, don't get, what's it called? There's no pads." The offensive linemen, their whole thing is grabbing pads, and if there's nothing to grab, of course they're going to be at a disadvantage. And then of course you have to look at our O-line. It's a patchwork right now. There's Trent, there's Aaron Banks. They're switching centers. Seems like every other series.
Yeah, McGlinchey's been in and out of the lineup.
Yeah, Burford, rookies in there. So I mean, it's to be expected. I don't see. I rather see, like, this. Put it this way: if Travaris Ward was getting burned by the wide receivers, I would be concerned. I already know what Ayuk looks like. We already know what Ayuk looks like. Sure, people are waiting for this breakout season, and yeah, I think that's going to happen. I mean, look at the last 7-8 games that he played last year.
Right.
I mean, he wasn't even the number one receiver, and if he had continued on the pace that he would have had, he would have had over 1,000 yards. You know what I mean? Like if he had a whole season of that, of just the last 6 or 7 weeks. So I'm not concerned about that. I'm happy that we got through training camp so far. Anyways, no serious injuries. I don't know if you heard about that Ryan Jensen.
Yeah, Tampa Bay. I wonder if that's going to affect the 49ers, in that I interpreted, or at least guessed, as I think it was Lynch, maybe it was Shanahan, who said, hey, we've got a list of some veterans that are like available, on-call veterans, that if we need to tap them, bring them in as free agents, we can do so. I wondered if JC Treader might be on that list.
Oh, yeah.
You
I'm
could
sure.
suppose that Tampa Bay is going to be making that call right now.
Yeah, I'm sure Tampa Bay is looking because I saw the video of
Oh
when he
no.
went down, and it's not, you don't see anything, but
Yeah.
you can hear it.
Oh
Like
no.
he's literally screaming like he got
Oh, that's
shot or
terrible.
something. It's
Yeah.
crazy. So I don't think he's probably done. I'm
Yeah.
guessing.
Yeah, early reports are significant time, and so you would think that it's at least something where he's missing half the season, if not season ending.
Yeah, unless they have some miracle thing where it's like, oh, it was scarier than we thought, and he's not going to miss that much time. Like
Yeah,
let's hoping for him that's the case, you know.
right.
And then you hear David Bakhtiari is the left tackle for the Green Bay Packers. He he hasn't recovered yet last from his ACL injury.
Really?
They're saying the ACL is done, but there's complications within that. So he's indefinite to return at left
Wow.
tackle. And that's huge. That's their all pro. That's like
Yeah,
us losing Trent,
yeah.
right? So it's like um it could be worse. I mean, I know like everyone lives in, I mean, it's fun, right? Because we watch these camp battles, and that's part of the fun, right? When they're doing good, you're like everyone gets on the hype train, and then of course when they're not having a good day like today, then it's just kind of like whatever, it's just there's no point in overreacting, I guess, either way, but it's a lot
Yeah.
more fun rooting it when something's good, right? So it's
It
like, come
is.
on.
And I chuckle at the folks that overreact when something doesn't go our way, right? I mean, you could look at today's results as either side of the coin. You could say, well, it really looks like the offense was struggling. I mean, Trey Lance's completion percentage fell off. It was rough, a lot of interceptions out there. Or you can flip that script and say, the defense was really on fire today, right? They took
Yeah.
away everything the offense was looking to do, and this unit could be special, both from a pass rush perspective and in their ability to cover in the secondary. And I think that may be closer to the truth with what I'm seeing about this defensive unit.
Yeah, and like I said, we know what IU can do. We've already seen Lance. I mean, of course, we haven't seen enough of him,
Right.
but I'm not worried. Like I said, the worst would be if Travaris Ward is just getting killed. We
Right.
would be like, wow, we just signed a $20 million or whatever it was free agent, and he's getting lit up. You would be way more concerned about that,
Right.
right?
And he is
And then
not. He's looking phenomenal.
yeah, and then also for our offense is like, come on, you guys know that the Niners offense is built, around the run, and then the run opens up the pass. So if they're just if there's no threat of, yeah, you get what I'm saying. Like you're not seeing, you know what I mean? You're not seeing a full representation of what this is all going to look like
Yeah.
anyways,
Right.
So it's like, as long as everyone, gets everyone stays healthy, it'll be good. And then we'll wait until see when pads come on, right? Because then that's a better judge of what's going on. And also I brought this, I thought about this too. Since this is the second day of camp, DBs are going to play at the speed of the wide receiver, correct?
Right.
Right. And if you're a wide receiver, and if you're a coach of a team that's been through injuries, and then we witnessed in OTAs, all these wide receivers were not showing up to practice in the middle of OTAs, right? With hammies and things like that. You might want to tell your wide receivers, hey, don't go, I mean, play, but don't go crazy, right? Don't tear anything.
Yeah. Don't go from 0 to 1,000. Ramp it up
Right.
slowly. Right.
Right. And then,
Progression. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I could see that.
And then DBs are going to follow that, right? Because they're going
Right.
to play the receiver.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. It would be something like that. So I'm not too worried about that.
Yeah, I'm not taking too much away from it. I'm going to bring in a couple of questions here. Jaguayo56, Sneakerhead on the channel says, Rob, I don't know how to feel about Shanahan's comments on the offensive line being musical chairs. I hope they really figure it out for Trey so he can make it 17 games. This is the conundrum, is it feels like we have a bunch of players that are at least backup caliber, if not starting caliber. But if you have a rotation along the offensive line, that is a unit that really needs to gel and really needs to find their rhythm together. If it takes the vast majority of training camp to determine who the starting five are, I wonder if they'll be firing on all cylinders when they come out to start the regular season.
Yeah, and I bet they have a game plan on this, right? Like they have these milestones that they got to hit, and then hey, we need to find the starter. Like they're not gonna really decide to start her at week 5, right? They're going to have an idea by probably week 3 of training camp or whatever it is,
Sure.
and go, hey, they're going to get most reps. We knew that this was going to happen, guys. We knew that there was going to be competition at these main spots, and this is what it looks like. This is
Yeah.
what competition looks like. You have to take half the snaps to make it fair, right? Like, remember last year when it was with Trey Lance and Jimmy, and we were like, oh, that's not a fair competition because Trey's not getting any first team reps or
Right.
hardly any first team reps. Well,
Right.
yeah, of course. Like, that wasn't a real competition. Kyle told us that it wasn't a competition, right? So that's why it looked like the way it does. Well, this is what a real competition looks like, where it is an even number of reps, right? Because you
Yeah.
want to see who's better.
It really is. It feels like the center position is what will determine the rest of the competitions. Aaron Banks has taken the vast majority, as I understand it, the vast majority of reps at that left guard spot. So I assume that he's going to hold that down. But the competition between Jake Brendel and Daniel Brunskill then determines who will be in competition at the right guard spot as well. Because Burford coming in and getting the majority of the first team reps after that was not the case. And I think it was Jalen Moore was getting those first team reps in OTAs and mini camps. If you see Brunskill and Brendel continuing to fight it out for the first team reps at center, I do think it gives Burford the advantage at right guard. And quite honestly, with him being the rookie, having the upside, hearing Scott McLuhan's breakdown of him as a second round talent, I'm pretty excited about him getting a run at right guard and having the best of those two veterans take over the center position.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. And it'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow. Because today I heard that pretty much Brunskill got the lion's share of the reps at center today, like if not all of them.
Yeah.
So if he comes out tomorrow and gets a heavy share again, then we kind of know where that's trending, right? But if they're doing the switch, like tomorrow it's Brendel gets the most reps tomorrow, then we'll know that's an active competition that's still happening. And also, I believe, okay, so Brunskill has done this before, right? In 2020, he played center, right? And patchwork center, and I know that there was criticisms about him and his snaps, right? Like, and today I guess he had 2 bad snaps, right?
Yeah.
So that doesn't make me feel really good about it, right? Like,
Yeah.
like
there
maybe
could be some trepidation there.
Yeah, maybe he's just not. That's just not his position, right? I mean, they're still going to try, obviously, but if we see tomorrow, like, I would be concerned if we see tomorrow, outside of Jake Brendel being hurt and it's Brunskill getting the lion's share, I'm going to be kind of concerned because we're getting Brunskill and he's beating Brendel, but Brunskill just messed up 2 snaps yesterday.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's going to make me a little nervous. So I'm going to be looking. That's the first thing I look at tomorrow is like, hey, who is getting the majority of the center snaps tomorrow?
I will have my eyes intently on that because it feels extremely important. I'm going to bring this last comment in here to get your take on it, Swanee. Cameron Blake says, Rob, hope all's well your way. What's the biggest takeaway from day 2 for you? I believe Lance will build and overcome the adversity we saw. That O-line isn't helping either. I'm going back to flipping the script, and maybe this is just the eternal positivity in me, the eternal optimist in me, but I want to believe that it is this defense showing what they're capable of. This secondary seems to be an elite unit. This pass rush, I think, is an elite unit, at least on paper. I'm still predicting this one to be the best pass rush in the league. And so it doesn't really surprise me that in operating a patchwork offensive line with a young quarterback, that this defense is able to take advantage. I mean, you look at our quarterback room, you have a younger, inexperienced quarterback in Trey Lance. Nate Sudfeld, you could argue a capable backup, but you could argue a slightly less than capable backup, and a rookie who was drafted as Mr. Irrelevant. And so if you have a quality secondary, it wouldn't surprise you to take advantage of that quarterback room as they're attempting to push the ball down the field, as they seem to be trying to do today on offense.
Yeah, and one of the promising things that I heard about today's practices, because I guess it was split into two periods, and I don't
Right.
have the exact numbers between the first period and the second period, but there was multiple comments from different content creators saying that Lance's second period, it was better,
I
right?
heard that as well. Yep.
And that, I mean, we've seen that, right? We've seen that in games. We've seen that throughout like all of last year. That's kind of like Lance's MO, right? So, I mean, we know the one thing about Lance is that, he doesn't have a lot of reps, right?
Yeah.
And he is an earnest guy that's cerebral, right? So there's going to be times when okay, like how I see it is that, when you have someone that is working hard, doesn't have a lot of reps, they're kind of going to be robotic, right? You kind of saw that in the games last year too, right? Like he's thinking, right? He's doing all these things. He's doing all these things right in his mental process of it all, but at the same time it could probably you can probably get lost in that and not play fluidly, and then you're missing throws, you're missing things that because you're thinking about step one, step two, okay, this
Right.
guy's
You're
open, then I
thinking
do
too
that. Yeah,
much
you're
is
thinking
the
too much.
reality.
And it has to happen that way because that's just the type of dude he is, right? It's gonna look like that. But the more and more reps, it's going to make that better, right?
Yeah, I agree.
It is not everyone goes in, everyone processes things differently. Not everyone can go in and just be like, "Hey, I'm just going to let it fly." And I saw a tweet today showing Mahomes's I hate making this comparison, but everyone wants to do it. So just Mahomes had 7 interceptions out of 8 practices
Yeah.
last his rookie year, or his second year,
Sure.
which is, so it's like it happens. It's like it's not that huge of a deal. Like I think as the seeing him progress was good, and like I said, seeing the defense dominate, and which we kind of know already. That's like everyone kind of has a feeling that the defense is going to help carry Trey through this time, right? We all know that. Everyone has spoke on that it makes sense, right? It's an intuitive feeling that we have that, hey, the defense is going to help Trey along, right? This is what we wanted, right? So it's like, imagine if Trey came out and started lighting up everyone. Yes, sure, you would say, oh yeah, Trey is good, but a lot of people would be saying, oh man, maybe our defense isn't as good as
You'd
we
be
thought it was.
concerned at that point.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, this is a good sign. I'm excited about it. I think it's telling of what this defense will be. That's what I'm taking away from it. Wanted to bring in Bro Montana here with the super chat saying, cheers, sneakerheads, Niners. Cheers to you as well, Bro Montana. Swanee, I want to say fantastic call as always. Got to get down to the waiting room down there. Any final thoughts before we head out, good sir?
Oh, I'm just glad that it's here and we get I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks of this. This is going to be fun.
Yes, sir. All right. We will definitely catch up throughout training camp. I look forward to that continued dialogue.
Thanks, Rob.
Absolutely. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye. All right. John B. Strider 3006 is the latest sneakerhead here on the channel. He is the new member now comes in to say, figured I should finally sub since I've been on a bunch. Yes, John, welcome. Welcome to the channel. Bringing on our next sneakerhead here. You know him, you love him, Chris Royal, coming into the stream. Chris, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I am doing very well. Now I know because you and I were chatting that there are a couple of additions that Chris you have made to the closet there. What's going on there? What kind of residency has arrived? You are our residency expert.
Yeah, so I got the gold color with the black bill. Goes good with this jersey right here that I got.
Oh, got the electric gold 5 rocking there. That is fantastic.
I like it. And
I don't think I've seen that one before, dude.
Yeah, my wife actually found it online, and I was like, yeah, you got to buy it. So
yeah, that's sick, dude. She came up on that one.
Then I got this gold hat with the red lettering right there.
Man, I think I've seen Trey wearing that one. That one's fly.
So that'll go good with the gold jersey that I have of Kittle. So it'll work out.
Color coordinated at all times. That is fantastic. Got to. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So what are you thinking of these first couple of days? What's your big takeaway?
I'm not so much worried about the offensive line. I mean, we've got a lot of young guys there, so it should be, like par for the course. I mean, they're going to recycle people through and see who's going to be good at the positions. And unfortunately, it's, not the 90s where they were able to do longer practices and, get people more reps. So they've got a short time to get these guys into the right positions. And then you kind of just got to let them gel with each other once you figure out who's going to do those positions well.
Yeah, it feels like a bit of a spray and pray approach that the Niners have taken here, in that they have a lot of bodies that they've thrown at this problem. And out of that, I could see why you could rest easy thinking, out of that large group of qualified individuals, some starting five will show themselves.
Yeah, I'm not resting easy. I just think it's par for the course.
Nice.
I'm not going to get too crazy about it, but like you mentioned, we've got a really good defensive team. So, I mean, how much of it is them not being that great, and how much of it is, going up against the top, one of the top defenses in the league? It's just, it is what it is.
And this is one of those top defenses. I absolutely believe it. I've got a couple of comments that I've been sitting on for a little while. I want to bring them in, get your thoughts as well, Chris, and then we'll continue on taking your observations of these first couple of days as well. But Kim, Sneakerhead here on the channel, will be on in just a moment, says, about time this franchise dropped Dee Ford. Never get a player with a known back injury that can't be healed, and after a team wants to move him after a 13.5 sack season. It is interesting, right, that the way in which it played out with Kansas City before arriving in San Francisco. You could look at the logic both ways, that it was obvious that he had this issue and Kansas City was willing to part with such a productive player, so you should be skeptical about that, and the Niners should have known better. Or you can take the other side of it and say he played a record high number of snaps the year prior to arriving in San Francisco. So perhaps they tried to convince themselves that, well, if he had a back injury that was lingering this year and he was still able to put forward the most snaps he ever had, maybe he'll just be able to play through it in the future. Now, obviously, we know that's not the case. Looking backwards, it was a terrible contract. It is something the 49ers should learn from, but I also wish Dee Ford nothing but the best. I hope that he does find another team. I hope that he stays healthy, and I hope he's productive as well. Were you pleased to see the 49ers move on from Dee Ford, or was that just something that you expected to take place and therefore didn't really have much of a reaction to it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that they moved on from him, but I've always been a Dee Ford fan. Even when he was on Kansas City, I thought he was, a great player. He had a lot of injuries, and that's the unfortunate part of the game is, sometimes these guys get banged up and it's hard to come back from it. So
yeah,
I was really hoping that he'd pull through, because when he's on the top of his game, he's one of the best.
Yeah. And the pass rush was so efficient in 2019 when he was out there. Those statistics were just staggering. Terry Wright also raises this one, and I saw something about it. Chris, I know that you're well informed, as I am, in monitoring what's going on during the day as far as practices, keeping your ear to the ground as I do. Terry Wright saying, Rob, should we freak out about the no answer on Armstead? I honestly haven't seen anything other than an implication that Eric Armstead simply missed today because of a vet's day off. So as I understand it, nothing to be concerned about, that both Armstead and Williams were a party to vet days off, which are a very standard practice protocol within camp. But I'm not sure about the no answer reference. Chris, I don't know if you've heard anything further on that.
No, I haven't heard anything further on it, but I mean, it's, coaches do that. They don't like to answer a whole lot of, those kind of questions. And Armstead's not exactly a young guy anymore. I mean, this is an 8th season or something like that. So I think it's probably just a vet day off, that he wanted to take a day off to, get his gears in order, and that's about it.
Yeah. I mean, until I hear something different, that's how I'm going to view that, as nothing to be concerned about. Got that Niner guy, Sneakerhead, here on the channel commenting about the offensive line, talking about musical chairs equals not all the reps. That equals rookies take longer to get their feet underneath them. So Moore, Burford, Lance are either true rookies or had limited playing time going into this. I view it, the fact that Brunskill was coming off of injury, going out of OTAs and minicamps, and therefore didn't get the starting right guard spot, is in the competition for center, but seems to be getting the second string reps there. I think that opens up the opportunity for Brendel to get the vast majority of reps at that center position, which I enjoy, and Burford being able to take the vast majority of the reps at the right guard position, which again feels like a higher upside potential player to grab that right guard position.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with what that Niner guy said. I mean, the musical chairs things, it's you're going to have people not getting a whole lot of reps. And I think that's just kind of where we're at with, having a bunch of new, moving parts to the offensive line. It's just, it's unfortunate that it works out that way. And, also that they're going up against, a hell of a fucking defensive line, part of my language.
Yeah. That's okay. When you're talking about our defensive line, F-bombs are appropriate.
Yeah. Sometimes it just slips out when I'm talking football.
Me too, buddy. Me too.
But yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that. I think like I said, there's a little bit of concern there, but yeah, that's just unfortunately what we got to work with.
Agreed. Let me get your final thoughts here on this one by Quesadilla Thrilla 71. Quesadilla Thrilla 71, also Sneakerhead here on the channel, says, they say Jordan Matthews has gained muscle and is still quick. He's poised to snatch up the number 2 spot behind Kittle. The door is open for that number 2 spot. Charlie Warner had core muscle surgery and is missing time. Ross Dwelley got those second tight end snaps on Wednesday, first day of practice. But he had fallen out of favor by halfway through last season. So you could assume that he's primed to be unseated. And Jordan Matthews did, in fact, have that long touchdown catch towards the end of practice on Wednesday as well. So I don't see this as a likely outcome. I think Jordan Matthews has a long way to climb to get up that depth chart. But I will freely admit that tight end 2 position seems to be wide open right now.
Yeah, I like Jordan Matthews. He shows a lot of really good skills. I mean, there's times where he plays where you're like, man, I mean, he could literally be a number 1 tight end on a team, but he's inconsistent. Yeah, I think our number 2 is pretty set. Yeah, I agree with you. I think Jordan Matthews probably has a little bit more to prove there, that he's going to be a more consistent player, but I mean, I do like him. I like his size. I like his quickness. He's a decent tight end.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are a few decent tight ends that the 49ers have there that could climb into that second position at tight end. Fantastic. Always appreciate the call. Always appreciate the style that you bring to the channel, my friend. Thank you for the contributions and the fashion.
Not a problem. If I can add one thing.
Absolutely.
With DK Metcalf getting paid, I think that is going to give the 49ers essentially the blueprint to figure out how they need to structure the contract to make it work.
Because DK was that final guy who's represented by the same gentleman as Debo. You could see his agent saying, hey, just hold out. We'll get DK's deal done, and then we're going to use that as a framework for yours.
Yeah, I think that we'll probably see something happen pretty soon, hopefully.
Man, I am excited for that. I just want the drama to be over. I want the Debo deal to be done. I want Jimmy to be traded. I want the focus on Trey Lance.
100%.
Yes, sir. All right. Always good talking to you, Chris. I look forward to catching up throughout training camp, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Take care. Bringing in Korean 49er next. We got a super chat going to bring that in. Here we go. Tommy Hugsley says, Schuh, Jimmy Ward, going to be all pro. We're talking about this secondary being elite, that it's not about the storyline of quarterbacks struggling today. It's a storyline about how impressive this defense is. And this defensive secondary has the potential to be a fantastic unit. I've already predicted that the 49ers pass rush leads the league, unseats the reigning champion Pittsburgh Steelers in holding the sack title. I've predicted the Niners come home with 57 sacks at the end of the year. And I think it sets up this secondary to take that next step, to have some of those forced turnovers. I know we didn't bring in any ball hawks, and that was a disappointment. However, I still believe that with the pass rush we're able to generate, it could be a special secondary as well. All right, we are bringing in Korean 49er to the stream. Korean 49er, how you doing today, my friend?
Not too bad, Rob. How are you?
I am doing well. Excited that we're back into camp here. Thrilled to have video to look at. Thrilled to be talking about Trey Lance out there and Jimmy Garoppolo being something that is a non-existent storyline for the most part so far.
Agree with that, and hopefully Trey will continue to get reps and improve, and hopefully he'll translate to the field sooner than later.
Yes, absolutely. What is it that has really stood out to you from these first couple of days or from any of the comments that were made early in the week? Has there been anything that really called to you as being important to take note of this early on in training camp?
Couple things. I mean, to me, when all these receivers started getting these big contracts, it just keeps telling me that the 49ers front office is more reactive instead of proactive.
Yeah.
To me, you could have gotten Debo done a lot sooner, perhaps, or at least made more headway instead of having to try to do it before the first preseason game. Is what it is.
It does seem like when you go back and look at Debo's comments early on and the way in which he got upset and scrubbed his social media, feels like he wanted to get a deal done sooner rather than later. And that failing to make progress may have initiated his irritation at that point. And certainly it does appear that having waited to this point will have cost the 49ers a substantial amount of money in the signing bonus. DK Metcalf getting a record-setting signing bonus today. In guaranteed money, you've seen record-setting guaranteed money. You've seen record-setting AAV. Every new category has been set yet again, and Debo is going to want to top some of those.
Most likely he wants to, but I know that his agent I believe is also DK's agent and a few others, so we'll all see how that all goes. And on that comment about Dee Ford, I have a friend at my job who's an Auburn alum. He told me he loves Dee Ford, but even he had reservations about Dee Ford getting into the league. It's like you have a background that no one can diagnose, and to me, that's a little. I can't take a chance on that.
Yeah,
I mean
that's tough.
I mean, I understand John Lynch wanting to be aggressive, and I respect and get that, but you can't. I mean, if I do a deadlift and I hurt my back, I think I'm hosed.
Yeah,
for a little while.
And this isn't, a back injury isn't like a knee injury wherein you can go back in and have a cleanup procedure most of the time. I mean, most of the time, these types of back injuries are the types of things that you've just got to give them time to heal. I think that back surgeries are less frequent. Oftentimes it's swelling, it's irritation, and things that it is things that need to naturally just go away through the healing process. And if it's a recurring issue, to your point, it can be re-aggravated in any number of ways.
So, yeah, exactly. And I don't want anyone to ever say, I don't ever screw around with my back. If I feel a little bit ounce of pain when I work out, I'm going to stop that exercise where I'm at. If it's deadlift or whatever the other exercise is. So, but one other thing I was thinking about, we all rag on Parag, and for good reasons we do. But why he gave the front office a very friendly contract with Jimmy, and our front office never took advantage of that. No. I can't blame Parag for, devising that contract up the way he did, where you said, hey, you can cut Jimmy at this time and only take like a $2 million dead cap hit off a $27 million a year contract.
They had a very clean out after last season. I mean, after the 2020 season, right? They obviously still have a very clean out at this point in time, but they could have moved on from Jimmy Garoppolo last year and chose not to. Again, I would say that I'm happy with the outcome there, but you could argue that, hey, the 49ers would be in a better position if they had.
Yes, and also there's another caller. I don't know if he calls into your show or not, but another caller to one of these 49er fan shows said,
sure,
back when John Lynch and Kyle took over, when they did, and you told them, hey, trade a second round pick for Jimmy, and you get, the one Super Bowl appearance, even though it was a loss, and two NFC Championship game appearances. I think almost 95% of the fan base would have signed up for that in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
To me, you've got everything you got out of Jimmy. Be happy and move on.
Yep.
Sometimes you just have to cut your losses.
So true.
I mean, we can all gripe that we should have won that Super Bowl, and that's fine and fair. Last time I checked, games played is long over with now. I mean,
yeah,
they beat us. They beat us.
No use crying over spilt milk at this point in time.
So we can all say, thank you, Jimmy. We appreciate your contributions, but I think that, I think it may be time for us to have a split and go our own ways.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that in my mind, that it would be really unhealthy to revisit this dynamic and say, well, we didn't get anything for Jimmy, and we're really going to stick to this idea that we're not just going to release him for nothing, and we don't want to make him available to the rest of the league. If we get down to August 29th, I think it's time to say, listen, the $24.2 million is more valuable than having a backup quarterback that might play 3 or 4 games, might not see the field at all. And then you've spent $24 million that could have been building a team around Trey Lance. I want to get to one question that Heartless Zhao brought in here saying, Rob Schuh, any word on Jason Verrett? Has he been getting training camp reps? He is there at camp, but he's on the sideline. He is starting camp at least, on the physically unable to perform list. I think it's that one. Maybe it's the non-football injury list, whichever one applies to current players, which I believe is the PUP list. When you're on it to start training camp, there's no rule about when you can come off. Whenever you're healthy, whenever you pass that team physical, you can be removed from that list during training camp. If he's still on that list at the start of the season, that triggers the specific dates wherein he can start practicing and come back. But at any point during training camp, he can come off the sideline. Right now, I saw a picture of him standing there on the sideline, but he was in street clothes, not in a helmet and jersey.
Yeah, that's what I thought I saw too. But are you still planning on being in Minnesota for that? Or is that not looking like a possibility?
After looking at the dates that those 2 Minnesota practices occur, and then looking at the date the preseason game is, there's a little bit of a gap in between the two. I think it's either Wednesday or Thursday, Friday, and then there's a day off, and then the game is after that. And so looking at going out there for that didn't make as much sense. Now I'm targeting game 1 in Chicago, getting those travel plans booked.
All right. So I was going to say that you're going to avoid having the dome getting all chewed up by mosquitoes and other flying vermin.
If I can avoid that, I am thrilled.
Yes. So
nice. And yes, clarification, people are agreeing that it is the PUP list that is for players that are currently on the team. The non-football injury list would be for, I think Kalia Davis would go on to that because he is a rookie that came onto the team already injured. So the non-football injury list is for those rookies. The PUP list is for veterans coming in that are unable to play right now. Very nice. Any closing thoughts about what you've seen so far, or comments that you've heard from the front office?
Nothing too much. I'm just hoping that they take less chances on pre-injured players when they try to bring them in. Understand players do get injured while playing the game, but we can't have, a severe injury, like a continuing persistent injury like a back, someone with that kind of injury be signed on the roster unless they went through the exams and they say it can't get any worse.
Yeah. Now that we've seen how the reps are being divided up, what is the most exciting camp battle that you're going to keep your eyes on? What is that one positional battle that is most thrilling to you?
It's probably the most boring one, but the offensive line. But but I think most of the time nowadays, I'm starting to kind of unintentionally zone out from the end of whatever the sports season is until it starts up again.
Oh, that's good.
With the games, just because it's like there's so many other things I want to do outside, and I want to take some time away from technology and enjoy nature every once in a while.
Yes. You got to be able to unplug. No question about that.
So I didn't do legs today because tomorrow I'm going to do a 13-mile bike ride, and I want to try to do it in 75 minutes, which I'm pretty close.
Yeah.
But then the problem is, like the first 2 miles, your legs start burning because you have inclines, and then the last little bit before you have to turn around, if there's a big incline, your legs start to burn again, and then vice versa, or versa versa, or whatever.
Yeah, whichever way you prefer the saying. Yeah, no, if you can get that down to that like 6.5 minute mile on average, if you've got some healthy inclines in there, I think that's a fantastic average to shoot for.
Just remember that where I used to live, there's a huge hill that I would ride my bike to and from work when the weather would cooperate.
Yes.
And then you see that big hill, and it's like, dude, everyone's passing me. I'm kind of getting upset because I have to drop my bike into, that real low gear to try and continually go up instead of.
Hey, man, no shame. Walk. No shame. It takes us whatever pace it takes us, man.
So, all right. Thanks, Rob.
Hey, nice good weekend. To see you. I look forward to continuing the dialogue, my friend.
Yep.
All right. Take care. All right. We are bringing CJ Gray into the program. Just want to hit up a couple of the comments that I had seen in there as well. Michael Medley, just curious about Rob Schuh. What type of shoe does the left shoe wear on his left foot? Generally one that is matching what's on the right foot. And I don't discriminate there. I like Adidas. I like Nike. I like Keen, which is a Portland company here. I like fancy dress shoes. I like Timberlands. I like Wolverine, 1,000 Mile, like a bunch of different brands that are out there, and anything that's of high quality as well. I enjoy nice shoes, nice cars, nice food. I enjoy some of the finer things, but I like that. That's a clever question to throw in there. And then Moses Martinez coming in with this one says, Rob Schuh, all the content people talking about the offensive line, but not one of you has mentioned Alfredo Gutierrez. Is there something about Mexicans you don't like talking about? Moses, I hope you know me well enough to either be joking with that last line or, I don't know. I mean, that feels a little bit off on how I view myself, and I hope how people would view me. The reason that I haven't specifically mentioned Alfredo Gutierrez is it's my understanding that he's gotten a handful of reps, and much like the other undrafted rookies or other depth players that are there third or fourth string, I've just not mentioned any of their names, right? If they are not in a serious running to make the team or to make one of the starting positions, I just have not gotten that in depth on the offensive line. Certainly, I have no reason not to talk about Alfredo. And if he does get into the rotation where it seems it's likely he might make the 53-man roster or has a chance to claim one of the starting spots, I will absolutely begin to break it down. But until then, it doesn't quite feel as relevant. All right, bringing in CJ Gray to the program. What's up, CJ, man? How you doing, my friend? Oh, got that Trey Lance jersey on. I'm digging it, man. That is gorgeous.
All right. Now that I got that out of the way. It's a good day that Trey has been named a starter.
Yes, that's huge.
I will go ahead and shout out Niner by Nature 88. I don't know if you watched Jesse's channel the other day when he got named a starter. He came in flaming, and
did he?
It was like the GOAT call, and he got the faithful on the standing on their hands and feet and just swaying back and forth, man.
It is time to be excited.
It was like Naughty by Nature. It was like hip hop hooray. We was all up in there.
That's fantastic, man. I love that kind of energy.
But my man Trey, it's exciting, and Kyle Shanahan's gonna bring him along slowly. First, he's gonna have him mopping the floors. Then he's gonna have him on fries. Then he's gonna make him the assistant manager, and then that's when the big bucks come in.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if that went over your head or not. But that's
It may have. Every now and then I get caught reading a comment when something comes in. Hit me with it one more time. Explain it to me on the simple.
Basically, that's I'm shouting out Coming to America. Basically.
Oh, nice. Classic.
Yeah, you know how he told him that, hey, you will be on mop, you start mopping, then you're on fries, now you're assistant manager, now here's $3. That's basically the reference I was making.
I dig that. That's a good throwback reference.
And so basically they're just going to bring him along slowly, give him a little bit, and have the team support him. And as he learns and as he develops, give him a little more and more until he can fully showcase his talents. Is basically what I'm saying. So I'm just extremely. Go ahead, Rob.
No, I was just going to say absolutely that it feels as though going into the season, you could see Kyle Shanahan, and he said as much of this on Tim Kawakami's podcast, talking about how this could be a similar circumstance to 2019, where Jimmy Garoppolo was coming back from injury. Kyle Shanahan wasn't quite sure what Jimmy was and wasn't going to be able to execute on the field because of that injury and recovering from it. And so it was a slow progression to start the year where Kyle was feeling out Jimmy. Jimmy was getting his legs back underneath him. They weren't asking as much of him. The defense came on strong. The run game was cruising. And then about halfway through, Kyle started to trust Jimmy more. He started to see what he could do. And there were a few of those games where Jimmy really stepped up and had some shootouts. The game in LA against the Rams, the game in New Orleans, there were a few of them where Jimmy really did put forth a winning effort on his part. I wouldn't be at all surprised to see a similar trajectory this year where it's slow going for Trey at first, but the second half of the season he comes on. And what I wouldn't expect to see is any regression in the playoffs like we may have seen in 2019. I think we will see a clear trajectory into the playoffs where Trey is cooking.
Yeah, and I understand that today that they're talking about that he didn't have such a great day at training camp as he did in day one. And I'll just attribute that to that we have a top defense. And
exactly.
So the best thing is that he'll have all training camp of going against what I believe is being the top 5 defense in all of football. And so when he goes sees those opponents and during the season, it won't seem as challenging.
You mean when he goes up against the Chicago Bears in week 1, it's not going to feel like that top 5 defense is on the field there? That's going to be fun. I saw Fields had himself a rough day today as well through 5 picks today. I mean, we know what happened when Jimmy had that 5-pick day. People went off for sure. I'm assuming that the fans in Chicago also will be a little upset.
It seems like we made the right decision. As things are playing out as of right now. We'll see as time moves ahead. It's just that Trey, when you bring up Justin Fields, it's like Trey's offense that he played at North Dakota State was more tailor-made and more ready to transition him to a Kyle Shanahan style offense with being able to turn your back to the defense and then being able to come and relocate your reads and make that decision. And Fields, he takes a lot of time making decisions about what to do with the football, and that's real worrisome. And he doesn't seem like a guy that can run a play action style offense or under center style offense because he ran that Ryan Day offense out in Ohio State, which is a spread type of offense. And so you're generally concerned about quarterbacks that come from that type of system into the NFL, unless there's a coach that's going to be able to roll with their system and be able to get the best out of them within that system. And so
you've got one of two, right? Either they come up against a coach that can build a system around them to take advantage of that athleticism, or they're just such an athletic freak that it doesn't matter what system you put them in, that they are going to shine some way, somehow. But I tend to see Trey as I think you're describing him here, as his skill set, his primary skill set being his ability to process, athleticism being second to that. Whereas you could probably argue for Justin Fields that his first skill set is that athleticism. And if you're not able to take advantage of that, then he's not going to shine as brightly as Trey might be able to.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess the big surprise in camp is Spencer Burford is the starting right guard.
Right guard. That caught me off guard for sure. I did not see him as being in that competition, even in the top two. I probably would have seen it as Jalen Moore and Daniel Brunskill being in camp competition for that top spot. Burford seems to be running away with the first team reps right now. By the way, I want to bring in Chris Royal's super chat to say, let's go, CJ, coming for my title. He's referencing that clean drip that you're rocking there, that maybe you may have, you may be in the running there to be up there with the two of you deciding who's got the Flyer dreads that particular day.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Chris, man. Chris be coming in impressive with the gear, and also he comes in impressive with his takes as well.
Yeah, for sure. Always enjoy it.
But last thing is talk about is I think it's time for Deebo Samuel to get paid. I think, and people was like the 49ers were holding back of making the deal and stuff like that. I just think that Tony Dandy is kind of holding back on that deal because he believes that Deebo is probably his best client. And so he's like, I'm going to hold y'all sit back and get the deal done with DK, get the deal done with my other guys first. Then now that we got things established, now we're going to talk about Deebo's contract, which should just be a little bit. It's not going to be dramatically bigger than the other guys. I just can't, because I kind of see them all as kind of in the same tier. So
right,
I see that.
But you could see Dandy wanting to or maximize his own earning potential by having Deebo last, so that he can get that big contract himself, get his 10%.
Yeah, get his cut down, and that 10% might go up about 15% by now. But hopefully we get that deal done soon, so we can get him on the field with Trey Lance, so he could get all his pieces out there, because the first team defense has got all their guys out there.
Yeah, we need every advantage we can get on offense.
And so that's about all I got. I'm just happy that we've been able to move on to Trey Lance. I know that this is kind of a big call night for you. This is training camp opening week.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm excited that Trey is now the guy. We are behind him 100%. Do you think that Deebo's deal gets done real soon? Is he going to get that deal done before pads come on next week?
It's imminent. I believe it's imminent.
I like it. I do too. I think there is a very real chance he gets it done before next week.
Yeah, I think it's coming. And it's like, and if it doesn't, because they know that if they don't get it done, the walls are going to come closing in with the media, the fans, and all that other stuff, because everybody else relevant has been paid. It's time to pay this man his money.
And I understand to pay Deebo.
I know you saved the best for last and stuff like that. And I'm glad for him that he's going to get his contract is going to be bigger than everybody else's within this same category.
Yes, me too. It's bragging rights, right? Comes down to that pettiness that many NFL players possess because they want to be recognized as the best or the best compensated at a bare minimum. So you could see Deebo, he'll crest everyone else in at least one category. My guess is guaranteed money. I think that's going to be his camp's priority. I think it should be his camp's priority. And I believe the Niners would be willing to pony up the most guaranteed money.
And I believe that we're looking for an historic year from Deebo. I think it's going to be
record setting.
I think the last year is going to be followed up with another monster year.
Man.
Only in 10 quarters of sample size with him and Trey Lance, he scored just as much as he did with all the snaps that he had with Jimmy. So a much larger sample size with Deebo and Lance. Kyle Shanahan's got some stuff up his sleeve, and we're about to see it unleashed. He's going to unleash it in week one. It's going to be a big problem, and the league's about to be on notice.
Man, I'm looking forward to it. That will be very exciting to watch. An elite defense, an elite pairing between Trey Lance and Deebo. I know Brandon Ayuk is going to have himself a season. I feel like Kittle's breaking 1,000 yards. Hell, if this defense is top 3 and this offense is something close to what you saw with Kyle Shanahan and the Atlanta Falcons in 2016, this could be an elite team. I'm pumping the brakes on myself so I don't get too far ahead and raise my expectations unfairly. But I think that this team, this roster is special.
Yeah, this is an 11-12 winning team. I think
so.
Yeah, I feel real comfortable just saying that.
Me too. Always appreciate the calls, my friend.
All right, Rob. You take care.
All right, CJ. You take care, my friend. All right, we are bringing in that Niner guy. Really do want to get to a couple of the chats. John B, Strider 3006, Sneakerhead here on the channel said, Rob, my camp surprise as of day 2 is how good Charvarius Ward is. I knew he had talent, but it seems he can be a true lockdown guy. Chiefs made a mistake letting him walk. Their mistake is our gain, and I am thrilled to have him on the defense, because I do think that without that, you would be a little bit suspect yet again. You'd be counting on Jason Verrett to come back and contribute, which I don't think is fair. It's a bonus if he does, but I don't think you can count on it like we did last season. You may have been counting on Ambry Thomas to pick up where he left off, but every now and then you see a sophomore slump, and he certainly had a rough day as described yesterday. So yes, Charvarius Ward was a great addition. Speaking of great additions, we're going to add that Niner guy to the stream. That Niner guy, how you doing here this afternoon?
I'm good. I don't know if I'm a great addition. I think I'm right in the middle.
You're an average addition. You're a Jimmy Garoppolo addition. Is that what you're saying?
That's rough.
That is rough. Like, we can't go there. No, you have high upside. I'm putting you in the Trey Lance category.
Yeah, I definitely would. I'd hope to be in the Trey Lance category. That'd be nice. You know,
yeah.
I'd love to fire up Twitter the way Trey Lance does, and
yes,
Kid has played 2 games,
positively and negatively at times.
I can't believe people on there.
It's wild.
It's crazy, man. Like I've been scrolling through like the Bears fans Twitter just because I want to just see. You know, Fields had a rough day today. Let's just see
real
what
rough.
They said, right? They're all like, it's all right. It's practice. You know, it's the day 2 of camp. You know, the rough days are going to happen with a young quarterback.
Like a reasonable fan base.
And they haven't had a 4,000-yard passer before.
Ever
in franchise history.
Goodness
and
gracious.
They're saying that. Not here, though. Not here.
No. Here, we've got to burn the whole thing down if we have a rough day at practice. Forget about the fact that maybe it's an elite defense and they could come up against any quarterback and give them fits. But no, we've got to burn this thing down.
No, forget the fact Debo, Trent Williams, and Mike McGlinchey weren't in first-team drills.
Right.
With Nick Bosa flying off the edge against basically a rookie and Jalen Moore, who's played, 2.5 games, give or take? Yeah, that's a fair matchup. Oh, and Colt McKivitz, too, blocking Bosa. Definitely the same player.
Exactly who you want locking up on Bosa.
It's just like, my God, guys, everyone this is day 2 at camp. Relax.
Yes.
They don't even have pads on yet.
No pads, short practices. They are just implementing some stuff. It is too early to make any definitive statements about anything.
Yeah, everyone just take a beat, relax. Ambry Thomas is on a bust. He got beat on day 2 days at camp. Yes, he gets beat sometimes. Guess what? All corners get beat sometimes.
Yeah, the best of the best get beat sometimes. I'm
going to let you in on a little secret. The defense usually kicks the offenses behind in the first week of camp because the offense, you got to install timing. You got to get all that stuff rolling, and the defense can just be physical and just do their thing.
Yeah, read and react. That's what they always do.
It's a lot easier to play defense without pads on than it is with pads on. It changes the whole game, okay? So everyone just chill out.
Yeah, you gotta be able to hold Nick Bosa. That's the key in slowing him down at all. Is holding him, choking him is also apparently acceptable, and it's far easier to do that once pads come on.
There's nothing to grab on Nick Bosa.
That's
It's like pure muscle, and he wears like no clothes on his jersey. So like, how could you block? I played offensive line, defensive line. I look at him like, how the hell could you block this guy?
Yeah,
it's not fair.
It's not. It is not fair.
So everyone who I know there's some people who are super fired up that Jimmy should just come back. Nah, we're good. We're good.
We're good on that.
Until Trey has 4 days where he throws 5 picks in a row, I'm really not concerned.
Yeah. I have to agree.
Yeah, but that's overall, I think it's but overall I think that people should be actually happy. I mean, all things considered, looks like the defense is starting to camp off strong, which is exactly what you want from this team because it's got a run first defensive team first and foremost.
Yes.
That's the biggest thing that people should undertake. I understand people are a little hesitant on the offensive line. I think that's totally fair because you're essentially running out Burford, and he would play. He played right guard his sophomore year, or redshirt freshman year, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But he played tackle his last 2 years. Played right and left tackle at UTSA. So I understand if people are concerned, but the dude can play. He was my favorite draft pick of the group.
Really?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, from a value standpoint, getting him in the back end of the fourth round. A lot of people had him around the compensation third round and a little bit higher as far as an upside pick. So
yeah, I keep going back to Scott McCloughan, who I trust for those big-bodied picks. Certainly got a few right for the Niners back in the day. Had him graded as a second-round talent.
Yeah, no, like Scott McCloughan, like for all of his shortcomings, I know he has personal demons.
Right,
dude,
he does.
Can evaluate talent. Like
he can.
He was the backbone that built the 49ers Jim Harbaugh era. Like most of those players were Scott McCloughan picks. There were just a few additions that Balky somehow added.
Right. Threw a dart at the dartboard, and hell, even a blind man can hit the bullseye once in a while.
The first draft, he hit the bullseye a lot. I mean, they had 4 contributors as rookies. I mean, they had Alden and Colin. I know Colin didn't play, but he became a contributor. Culver played, and they had Bruce Miller in the 7th round.
Yeah. He turned out to be a train wreck, but different issue. He could play, just a bit weird off the field.
Yeah, he lost his mind a little bit. It's unfortunate, but
he did.
But yeah, no, I think here's a question. What do you think about Burford and Moore? Because I was actually under the same impression that you were, that I thought Burford would play tackle and Moore would play guard.
I'm pleased to see that they're getting the number of practice reps that they are right now. Even if the line shakes out to where it goes back to my scratch prediction, wherein it's, Aaron Banks at left guard and Brendel at center and Brunskill at right guard. I think it's valuable to have gotten these practice reps for Moore, for Burford, because it's very likely at some point during the season they'll be needed for a couple of games at a bare minimum. The average amount of games missed in the NFL is 2, and certainly along the offensive line for the past few years, you've watched that for the 49ers needing to rely on backups. And thankfully, unlike many teams in the NFL, we have had a cupboard that has a few extra players that can contribute, and they can contribute at a level decent enough that Kyle Shanahan can scheme around them. This feels even better as far as depth goes with the number of pieces we have available to us. It still makes me skeptical about who the starting 5 is, but if we lose one of those starting 5 and need someone to fill in for a few games, I feel these practice reps are invaluable.
No, for sure. And like, I also feel like Burford and Moore, the more they practice, the more comfortable they're going to get. Because again, I mean, for Jalen Moore too, again, he basically was a redshirt guy last year. He basically only played scout team, so at least he got a little bit of experience, but not being a 1. It's game experience. You can tell is just massively different, and so I'm excited to see him get more reps and keep that rolling. And then Burford, I was high on Burford, so I think maybe not this year. I wasn't really expecting him to be on the field this year. Thought he was maybe a redshirt guy to get the strength up, but. I think that's a good group. But then again, though, it all kind of comes down to what happens with the center position, right? Because yes. I have a feeling that Daniel Brunskill is going to be a starter either way, whether it's a center or a right guard at some point. So I think we're going to see Brunskill out there at guard with Jake Brendel. I guess that's how you say his name. We've been saying his name wrong the whole time.
Is it Brendel? I heard someone say Brendel in one of the pressers.
Yeah, Kyle did.
Was it Kyle? I'm not completely convinced that just because Kyle says it once that it is necessarily that. I feel like he might butcher someone's name like that. I've heard Mayoko say it, Brendel, repeatedly, and I trust guys like Barrows and Mayoko to be like old school journalists that double check their pronunciation. Certainly Barrows, because he's all about putting up the phonetic pronunciation as well. But now I'm gonna have to look into it because I do recall hearing that, and when I heard it, I was like, Brendel? Who the hell is Brendel? I've never heard of this guy.
I was working on something and I was listening to my headphones and he said Brendel. I stopped what I was doing. Have we been saying his name wrong the whole time?
The entire time.
He's been here multiple years.
Yeah. Yeah. Brendel, real close. No, it does. It makes me wonder whether we need to rethink that. We're going to have to look into it.
You have to look at it. Come on, guys. Let's go 49ers media team. Let's get our names. Guys, get saying their names right.
Yeah.
Come on, let's
please.
go.
Please, if we can pronounce guys like Charles Omenahue's name correctly, then we can get Brendel.
Yeah, or maybe just Kyle said the wrong name and just got trolled mercilessly in the locker room.
I'm sure. If it is Brendel and he went Brendel, yeah, I would hope that they are chiding him a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. No, but I think everyone just calm down.
Yes,
get to the spot. We're gonna be fine. Wait, and if they lose to the Bears week 1, then you can freak out. How about that? All right?
Exactly. Along the lines of keeping calm, Chris Royal with the super chat coming in. Jimmy throws 5 picks in practices. LOL. Relax, people. And then CJ coming in with the opposite there, talking about Chicago. Hey, Fields 5 picks in Chi-Town. What if Lance did that? And the Bears defense does in fact suck. So yes, this is the type of thing that, number one, did happen when Jimmy Garoppolo was under center. He had far worse days than the one we saw from Trey Lance today. Trey Lance is a young quarterback. You should expect to have some ups and downs. And if this defense is as elite as we believe it to be, it should beat up on this offense just like it's going to beat up on opposing offenses when we get to the regular season.
Yeah, there's no question about that. I mean, literally go back and watch the second half of the season. Like, do people remember what this defense did? This defense may not be as good on the corner, but what they did to some of the best offenses in the NFL. I mean, they put them on lock. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase essentially had to go beast mode to score any points in that game against us. They would have the freaking Super Bowl. All right, they shut down the Rams in the second half multiple times. This is a really good defense and a really good team. So
yes,
they're going to figure it out. Yeah.
I am on board with that. And I think, it's day 2, right? We've got to keep seeing how these trends go to determine what direction they're headed. I mean, if we continue to see Trey Lance struggle, that's something we'll have to talk about. But one day of struggle is not something that is going to concern me.
I was listening to Jack. It didn't even sound like he struggled all that bad. He just was maybe a little inaccurate. And he threw the Jimmy Garoppolo pick. Like it wasn't even that bad.
Yeah.
And listen, 22-year-old quarterbacks are going to do that. Trey's going to have some picks this year where you're like, oh man, that was Jimmy. And it's going to happen this year. You need to have the real expectations, but there's going to be good play around it. I mean, literally, the Texans game, he did not look good for the first quarter and a half up until that 2-minute drill. It wasn't great. And then they got in a rhythm, figured it out, and there we go.
Yes. And this team that's built around Lance seems to be primed to carry him a little bit in that regard. Great defense, improved special teams, improved run game, improved skill positions around the offense. It does seem tailor-made for a successful season for a young quarterback.
Yeah, no question. I think I was kind of poo-pooing the Ty Davis Price pick, but so far the reports have been good. Now, I think when pads get on, he's going to look a lot better because that's going to fit his style more. But it looks like the 49ers actually might have a true two running back rotation, which will be really nice because I feel like Elijah Mitchell, the one thing of his game that was really good in college that was not really used last year was him in the receiving game.
Yeah.
He was a really good wide receiving running back, really good coming out of the backfield. And the Niners really couldn't use him that way last year because they were just force feeding him whenever he was on the field.
Right. Yeah, I'd love to divide those carries, keep him healthy throughout the majority of the season. I have predicted it being more of a three-headed monster close to 2019. I'd be happy if it was just 2, as long as it's not the bell cow approach, which didn't seem to be as efficient for the 49ers, because by the end of the year, now you have a bell cow who's dinged and bruised and battered and not ready to carry you during the playoffs when you really need that.
Oh, I mean, Elijah Mitchell last year, essentially, he was running on fumes in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He didn't have much left in the tank. You could see it early in the games, he'd kind of rip off a couple of runs, but then after that, it looked like an old Navy Army game. It was 3 yards in a cloud of dust. I mean, it just was not great.
Good description for sure. Very nice. Very nice. All right. Well, it looks like we have Jonathan T, Starco fan, down below. Any closing thoughts before we head out, that Niner guy?
No, I'm good. Everyone just
all right,
relax.
My friend. Always a pleasure chatting Niners with you. I look forward to continuing that dialogue throughout training camp, my friend.
Amen, brother.
All right. Take care. All right. We are bringing in Jonathan T to the stream. Jonathan, how are you doing, my friend?
Fine. How are you doing, Rob?
I'm doing very well. Very excited to be back into training camp. Excited to be talking Niners. Excited to be having a dialogue about football.
Yep. So I'm not sure, but I think I just found this out during my my break at work. But apparently, DK Metcalf got a big payday today. I'm not sure.
He did. A lot of guaranteed money. The record-setting signing bonus. So I think $30 million signing bonus, which was record-setting, highest for a wide receiver in NFL history, and somewhere in the neighborhood of $58 million guaranteed, but that's not the fully guaranteed portion, and that was still being determined. So not all of the details had been released when I started the show. I'm sure over the last hour and 10 minutes, some additional ones have come out, but those were the ones that I had seen prior to the show.
Got it. And the second thing I want to talk about is like the Kyler Murray payday. A lot of people think he got overpaid and are really skeptical about the part where where they pay him to study apparently football, and I'm not sure how if this might affect because we already know that Kyler Murray and the Cardinals, they have butted heads before. I'm not sure if this might push Kyler, because I know he got an extension, but I'm not sure how this might affect his on the field behavior around the team, because this is because they did give a big payday, but they also made it seem like he's not a quarterback, like a Jamarcus Russell almost, like someone that doesn't sit football.
Yeah, not a guy who applies himself off the field. That's the implication. That's what that language sends as a message to everyone else. I do think that a couple of things. I think personally, it's a little bit of a mistake to commit to Kyler Murray 1 year early. I would have let him get through to that 5th-year option and then negotiated with him next offseason, much like the 49ers seem to be waiting to do with Nick Bosa, right? They were the same draft class. The Niners are, as it seems, going to get Nick's deal done next offseason, locking in 1 year early to Kyler Murray, while the jury is still out in my mind. He is great for the first half of the season, and then either he or Cliff Kingsbury or the combination of the two seem to fall off in the second half of the season. I would want to see a little bit more, especially if, as the language in the contract is telling us, if he's not studying off the field, if he's not putting in the time needed to be that dedicated quarterback. I still think it was a bad idea to put that language in the contract, because if he needs that type of motivation to study, I question whether he's going to do it anyway. And you knew that language was going to get out to someone and then be run as a story, and it makes Kyler look bad. And I can't imagine he would be all that thrilled about looking foolish in that regard.
Yeah, I expect that, because that seems like some sort of motivation. It's like something to do for him, I guess. But yeah, I think especially with how he played during the Rams game, in the wild card game, I think definitely maybe should have not given or much money, or wait till at least next year to make sure he's proven that he's like the franchise quarterback. Because right now I think he's still on the fence. Even for me, it's still on the fence, because I watched that Rams game and during the in January, and it did not look very good. He looked. I'm not sure if it's just because it was his first playoff game or whatever it is, but in the NFL. But yeah, he didn't really. It didn't look like he belonged in that. I'm not might get some heat for this, but he didn't look like he belonged in that playoff game at all.
It didn't look like he belonged there, and it looked at some point as if he sort of gave up, right? It looked as if he felt defeated and played defeated in that game. And I got that sense, honestly, from the vast majority of Arizona's players towards the end of that one. Chris Royal coming in to say, film incentive, that says it all. It's a bad look. he follows it up to say the elite players don't need that type of incentive. I have to agree with that. What tends to make players elite is a drive to be the greatest, a drive to continually improve. I think Jerry Rice proved that because he wasn't the most physically gifted individual, but he was always striving to be the best and practiced as if he wanted to be the greatest, constantly pushing himself. And if Kyler Murray isn't doing that, as the language there would seem to indicate in his contract, that is a problem, right? That is something you don't want your franchise quarterback to be the type of guy who's not all in.
Yeah, definitely. Especially if you're paying him that, I believe, I can't remember. Was it like 280 million or so? How much did they pay him? Like 80 million?
It is some absurd amount of money that, is somewhere around $250 million.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, it's right up there with that Deshaun Watson level of money, right? Literally $250 million. That is wild.
Yeah, that's a lot of money for someone who let's just say who probably needs D-Hop to make him.
Yeah,
maybe look like playoff ready, because Kyler might be a good starter, but there's like a good starter and then a good playoff ready starter, which are like two different classes. And so far, in my opinion, he hasn't really shown that he can be really good without D-Hop on the line.
Yes, he does appear to be a different player without DeAndre Hopkins out there, which we'll see again at the beginning of this season. May prevent them from getting out to a quick start as they have the last couple of years. And if they don't get a quick start and fold down the second half of the season, could be a rough one for Arizona. But they also have the talent that, like, I won't be surprised if Arizona is in the running for NFC West title. I also won't be surprised if they're in the basement of the NFC West, competing with the Seahawks for fourth place. Neither one of those outcomes would really surprise me with Arizona. They've got plenty of talent, but to this point, haven't been able to put it all together.
Yeah, definitely. And I think definitely for the Cardinals fans, it might be on a short leash for Kyler, because they haven't able to win a playoff game yet, despite being looking promising to so many times. As we both remember, they started off 7-0. Then they somehow got into their I believe what was the record? I forgot. By the end of the 2021 season, I believe.
I don't know how they ended up the season, but it was somewhere around
11 wins.
10, somewhere around 10 wins is what I want to say there.
Yeah, and they did it in the playoff. It was just like the nail in the coffin, basically. And okay, I think that's enough Cardinals talk for now. But
yeah, they ended up 11-6 at the end of the year.
Yeah, I wonder about Dee Ford, because I heard that he got released yesterday as well.
He did. We're finally moving on from Dee Ford.
I just want to get your opinion on the Dee Ford release.
I think that it is about time. I believe that I wish nothing but the best for Dee Ford. I think the 49ers could have taken one more year and said, hey, listen, we only saved $1.12 million by cutting Dee Ford. There's a chance that maybe he could be healthy for some portion of the year. But this roster is so talented that in cutting down to a 53-man roster, there are going to be some really tough cuts. And if you're keeping Dee Ford around, that means that you're letting go of another body on this roster. I think that if you keep Dee Ford, you can only assume he's going to contribute for 4 or 5, maybe 6 or 7 games during the year, and that's just not worth it. You would rather have a body that can contribute all 17 games, even if they're slightly less talented than Dee Ford or moderately less talented than Dee Ford. The best ability is availability. I think that's a saying in the NFL for a reason, and Dee Ford just couldn't stay out there. So I wish him nothing but the best as he goes on to his next team. I hope he does make it through an entire season, but I don't think the 49ers can count on him to do that.
Definitely, especially I think it's in the game of football. Like, I know the managers, it's all about rest, and I think rolling the dice with possibly a rookie that could be good is better than rolling with someone that is good but will only be able to be available on half the games, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
You'd rather have someone who maybe they're not great this year, but because they get experience this year, they're that much better next year, and maybe you build off of that.
Definitely, yeah. And I think Dee Ford could possibly be signed to another team soon, but especially with the amount of team that needs his position. But I don't think the Niners are just too stacked with the amount of great free agencies we signed during the draft. And this has just become a tough competition. And I think as more cuts are being made, I think there is to be more great players that unfortunately that are good but can't just make the cut for the.
Yeah. I mean, when we look at the cuts here for the 49ers, I expect several of the cuts to be claimed by other teams in the NFL. I think this roster is that good. The teams will be looking for our cuts to grab players off of that roster and bring them to their own. I do want to bring in Chris Royal's super chat here before we close out. He's got this. Rob, just have to say that I genuinely enjoy my Thursdays and getting to chop it up with you. Also love hearing from the sneakerheads. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that, Chris. I absolutely love chopping it up with you, with everyone that comes in on video, everybody that's here, whether it's video or audio, everyone in the chat. I just love having a dialogue about the 49ers. And so I appreciate that, Chris, and I appreciate all the sneakerheads, everybody coming on, yourself included, Jonathan. I want to thank everybody for their contributions on the channel.
Yeah, definitely. This has been a great show so far. So, I think we'll close it on a Dee Ford. I think I'll just close it out on saying that, this is, like I said, this can be a tough offseason for many cuts. And I definitely think a lot of these people that do get cut from a roster do have a good chance of getting signed by other teams. And I think it's just that it depends on, I'm not sure what, I guess what I want to talk about is like what criteria might be like the small that gives someone the inch further than someone else on the final roster. My prediction is basically because I know that so far, a biggest issue is definitely the durability and injury prone of our players. So I think it might come down to who can be stronger and more durable for us at the end of the day. And I think that at the end of the day is going to determine who gets that final roster spot and who gets cut. But I just want to get your prediction on what that it's going to be.
I like that one. I would go threefold. I like what you said just there, that you got to have guys that can play. So if you got health versus someone who has a rich injury history, you got to go with the player that has the stronger leaning towards staying healthy. But I would also say that you've got to consider what are they contributing on special teams. A roster this deep, if you're one of the backup guys, you've got to be a stud on special teams as well. You've got to be able to contribute on that third phase of football. And then what's your upside? Is it a player that offers you a high floor and you're comfortable? Much like in the running back room, I think of it this way with Jeff Wilson Jr. I think he provides a great floor. I know what he can contribute to this team. And I'm fairly certain that we're not going to see a huge leap forward from him. I feel like we know what we have in Jeff Wilson Jr., but a guy like Jordan Mason, if he shows that he can be as capable of Jeff Wilson Jr., but he's so young and has more upside, I would tend to go with a player that has more potential upside in the future. So I would use those three criteria.
Good. I haven't really thought about the other two, and that's definitely something interesting to keep in mind. That would definitely something I would keep into my mind later on as more cuts are being made.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like I said, it's going to come down to the basic criteria and who the coaches believe that can edge out the other ones at the end of the day, basically.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Jonathan, I always appreciate you calling in. This has been a fantastic show from start to finish. Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed your contributions. Thanks so much for calling in.
Thank you. Have a nice day, Rob.
Absolutely. You as well, Jonathan. Hope to see you again soon during training camp.
You too, Rob.
All right. Take care. All right. That is our show. Fantastic show from start to finish. Enjoyed talking about training camp. We will be back on next week. Same time, same channel, talking to sneakerheads, whatever you want to bring to the table. I should be back on tomorrow with Jack Hammer. I've got to confirm with him. It's been a busy week. Got to make sure that he is available for that show, but it should be around the 4 p.m. hour. If you want to tune in and make sure that you know when that show's going live, you can follow me on Twitter at The Left Shoe. I typically announce the schedule for that day's programming. You can follow me there. Thank you, everybody. If you're here and you enjoy the content, hit the like button on your way out. Consider subscribing to the channel. And hell, you can join as a sneakerhead if you want to call in for future shows. I'll either be back tomorrow or next week. But until then, you know the drill. Cheers, faithful.